So you're having trouble surviving against your fellow crewmates and the imposters. Well, don't worry, you're in the right place because I have 10 tips that'll help you survive when playing as a crew member in Among Us. Hey, I'm your host Clay and welcome to Prime Star Media. If you find any of the tips helpful today, go ahead and click that like button so I can make more Among Us content at the channel. And with that being said, let's get into the video. Alright, tip number 1, learn the map you're playing. Now there's 3 maps currently in the game, each one having their own unique tasks, event locations, and much more. But by learning the layout of each one of these maps, it'll give you a significant strategic advantage, such as being able to avoid areas in the map that are a dead zone for the cameras, and being able to identify events around the map that may be possible ambush spots for the imposter. Also, knowing the map will help you out with giving callouts when finding bodies, meaning you'll be able to supply your team with crucial information, making it so that you and your team are one more step away from identifying the imposter. Alright, tip number 2, identifying imposters doing fake tasks. Now some of you out there might be asking, how can you tell if someone's doing a fake task? But it's really quite simple when you know what you're looking for. But before I go into how to spot these guys, what you're going to want to pay attention to is the common tasks, such as swiping the key card. This is a common task, and all that means is if you have it, everyone else will have it. So if you spot an individual sitting at swipe the key card, but you don't have that task, it's pretty safe to assume that they're the imposter just faking that task. But also keep in mind, some of the crew members on your team might be trying to bait the imposter into doing one of these common tasks. So what I would recommend doing in this situation is have that crew member prove their identity before they start baiting. That way you don't accidentally eject them on the next vote. Alright guys, tip number 3, prove yourself. Now if you have any of the essential tasks like scanning yourself in the med bay or shooting the asteroids in the weapons station, it'll be in your best interest to go ahead and save those tasks until you absolutely need to use them. For example, if you're about to be ejected, a good way to clear your name is by using the medical scan in the med bay. Since the scan actually plays an animation, it'll allow multiple crew members to see that you're not the imposter, clearing you from any of the accusations any of the other crew members may have made about you. Just bear in mind, if you do use one of these tasks at the start of the game, try to do it with at least another crew member around. That way, if you're ever put into question, they'll be able to clear your name. On a side note, you can actually briefly go into the animation of the task. Just make sure you cancel out of it in time before it actually completes. Okay guys, tip number 4 is actually going to be really short, but use the keyboard shortcut keys. When I first started playing, I actually didn't know these shortcut keys existed, but now that I know that they do exist, it's been a lot more enjoyable, and not to mention, it's a lot faster than clicking the icons on screen. I'll go ahead and display all the shortcut keys now, and I'll also have them down in the description below. Alright guys, tip number 5. This is going to be a key strat for actually winning games, but group up with other survivors. This will slow down your guys' task progression for sure, but it'll also keep all the crew members safe, while making it much harder for the imposters to pick you guys off one at a time. Keep in mind when leaving areas though, if there's 2 imposters in the game, they may end up trying to go for the double kill strat, which will leave a big opening if your group's moving too fast. So when leaving areas, just try to keep accountability of all crew members. That way there's less of a chance of an imposter picking off one of you guys one at a time. Alright guys, tip number 6. Use the cameras and admin. This is by far one of the easiest ways to catch a sloppy imposter, and it's a great way to use one of their greatest weapons against them. But keep in mind there's one major disadvantage when using either of them, and that's the fact that you're leaving yourself wide open for attack. A great way to counter this, however, is by using 2 other crew members to guard you while you search the area for the imposters. Keep in mind when using cams, all crew members will be able to identify someone's using cameras by the little red light indicated on top of the camera. And when looking for imposters and admin, try not to rush directly to the room they vented to without at least one other crew member being there to back you up. Alright, tip number 7, properly use the shadows. Now, even when not directly in line of sight, you can still see the vents opening and closing. So what this will let you do is catch imposters off guard by hiding in the shadows, waiting for vents to open. And as soon as they open, just take a quick peek around the corner to see what color they are. And just try not to get caught when going to report them, or they'll be able to close the gap between you guys, making you their next kill. Tip number 8, moving towards the sabotage. Now, the reason why this tip's so important is because the imposters will get a free win if you don't clear the sabotage in time. Not to mention, all other crew members will be headed towards those sabotages, and you don't want to isolate yourself away from the other crew members, or you'll basically be asking for the imposters to pick you off. And also take into account that imposters can clear their own sabotages. It may seem counterintuitive, but most imposters will try to use this as an argument when it comes time to vote. Alright, we're down to our last couple of tips, but tip number 9, avoid causing confusion. Now, this can be incredibly easy to fall into, but it'll certainly be the last thing your team needs. You certainly don't want to go accusing other crew members just to find out they weren't the imposter. And this could be especially true in late game as well as early game, but just try to keep your cool until solid evidence appears, and try to avoid calling emergency meetings unless you absolutely have to, and avoid spamming the chat with useless nonsense. Alright, we're down to our final tip, but try to have fun in the game. Now, you might be asking yourself, why wouldn't I have fun playing this game? Now, the only reason I bring this up is if you're only playing solo, you're missing out on a completely different experience the game's offering. So I would highly recommend using Discord when you guys are wanting to play. Or if you want a completely different experience than the normal gameplay, try having everyone downloading Among Us on your phone and heading over to one person's house to have a game night. Not only is this a good way to mix up the normal gameplay of Among Us, but it's a good way to pick up on habits that your friends might have when playing the imposter. And just in case this is the first Among Us video you've ever watched, the game is completely free on iOS and Android, and it's $4.99 in Steam. If you guys made it to the end of the video, I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed any of the content you've seen today, consider subscribing to the channel so I can keep you updated on more Among Us content. And with all that being said, I hope all of you have an awesome day. G.